Yo, we live on location, man. This one today, we in D Miles is staying our ass at home. We still here in Orlando being out the way, but this is so super special today, man. We got basketball royalty. We got one of the real OGs, real GOATs in the game.
Bosses.
Name ring bells everywhere. Jerseys retired, you know what I'm saying? ABA champion, NBA champion, man. And he's a doctor, y'all. We got Julius, the Dr. Erving in the building. Thank you, OG, for joining us, man. You don't even know how much this means to us.
First of all, I'd like to thank you. This is an honor and a pleasure to go to all GOATs.
One of the GOATs.
You're welcome. Happy to get on, chop it up with you guys.
Brought to you by Thigh Stop.
First question I want to ask you, this is a two-part question.
Okay.
When you got to the ABA, who was the first person to bust your ass? And when you got to the NBA, who was the first person to bust your ass?
I'm still waiting.
Okay. Yeah.
You did all the ass busting.
I'm really still waiting. But you know what? Ron Harper did sneak a dunk in on me because I thought I was a shot blocker.
Oh, okay.
And that was my last year and his first year. So it took a long time. I do remember Buck Williams hitting me with an elbow in my chest, and I lost my breath, and I never was able to get him back. He was kind of big anyway, 6'10", and pretty strong. So my enforcer would sleep on the job that particular day.
Hey, so this is the better question though. Was there even a foul call, which I highly doubt, or you just got caught?
Hey man, nah, it wasn't no foul.
Yeah, it wasn't none of that.
Let me go back to the ABA thing, because there were two guys, Warren Jabali and Jumpin' Joe Caldwell.
Joe.
Pogo Joe. They call him Pogo Joe. So I think I averaged like 28 against the rest of the league, but those two guys, I think I averaged like 24. So they wasn't really just busting me, but a 4-point difference in the scoring average is worthy of note.
Yeah. Right.
And they were both, one was 6'4", Jabali was 6'4", Joe 6'5", and at the end of the game, I would have like a red mark where I'd be hand checked by those two guys the whole game. You never went anywhere without that hand coming on you. And both of them had a claw-like grip.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the bruises. The bruises, man. The referee wasn't calling it. So, it's like you had to protect yourself. You really did.
How do you look at it, like, in your opinion, coming from playing in that type of an era and that type of, like, how do you look at the current NBA, and how much of an advantage do the offensive player have over the defensive player with all of these new rules and all of the stuff that's going on?
Yeah, you right on with that. Offensively, huge advantage. That's why you see so much dancing. I mean, like with cats are dancing, like back in the day, a dude would just take a shot at you.
Just check you right in your chest.
He's like,
check you right in your chest.
I'm taking a foul. You're out here dancing on me, embarrassing me like we're in a nightclub or something or whatever. You dancing. Nah, they wasn't having it. Oscar Robertson definitely wasn't having it.
The big O.
He pop a cat in a minute. He was 6'5", 215 when 6'5", 215 and muscular was big and strong.
Right.
Not so big and strong now. Now you got to be like 260 to be considered big and strong.
Yeah.
But I've evolved with the game.
Mm-hmm.
So when I, center grab a rebound, dribble it up court, start the offense at the top of the key, with a little handoff, and then go down and spot up in the corner. It was like, when you gonna put your feet in the paint, big fella? You're 7 feet tall. But that's the way. But that's the way it is. The game has evolved. Fortunately, the coaches have kept pace.
Absolutely.
With the changes in the game and the fact that it's played differently. It's played outside in, and there's a lot of fan appeal, who want to see the three ball go up.
Yeah.
And, I don't think everybody should have a license to shoot it. But and that's obvious sometimes. You know, you see some of those shots.
Hey, this day and age, they make you get your permit. They make you get your permit on shooting. You got to shoot the ball.
Hey, put that pressure on you.
You know, when a guy misses like 5 or 6 of them, and then he makes one, and he, you know, he's kissing up to God, and bumping his chest, whatever. And I'm like, dude, man, how you get off doing this?
Yeah, right.
Is that really appropriate? You know,
let me ask you this. Some of the players of today, can you see some of the players today that remind you of some of the guys back in the day, dead or alive? Like some of them guys like Kevin Durant. Do he remind you of an Iceman or something?
Yeah,
like
Kevin Durant would be a perfect example of you know, how Gervin used to do it. And then, you know, there was some big guys who could shoot from outside, ABA guys and NBA guys.
Yeah.
Stu Johnson was one of the guys come to mind. Obviously, Lil Louis Dampier, man, made more 3-pointers than anybody.
Yeah.
or whatever back in the day. But Ice was special, and the fact that we were teammates. You know, my second year and his first year, you know, that was a special year, the special memories, because, you know, when I see him now, I'll say, "Come here, rookie," you know, because he was my rookie.
Right.
And he said, you know, Doc, you know how he talks. You know, Doc, you know, it's once you're rookie, once I was your rookie, and I'm always gonna be your rookie.
That's the rule. That's the rule.
I feel like it's only fitting that 2 of the most iconic, coolest dudes in the history of the game that one schooled the other, and one was the rookie and the vet. So I mean that's only right.
Yeah.
We had OG Big Gerv on Big Ice, and he said that you was the first person to bust his ass. When we asked him that question, he said you served him up. Do you even remember that?
That was practice, man. He's trying to go home. And I said, well, you can't leave, man. We got to go in the gym. We still got work to do. And because he came like mid-season. After we replaced Charlie Scott on our team. Came like mid-season. He was trying to go home. I said, no, let's go to the gym. You know, so I wouldn't hold him back. I wanted to really see what he had. And what he had. And then, you know, I used to go in and do this little move, and you know, I'd always keep focus on that little square above the rim. And you know, he started coming in, and I was like, "What you looking at, man?" And he said, "I'm looking at the big square, the big white square, on the backboard."
Yeah. Right.
And he's placing the ball at different spots on that big white square.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, I thought about it.
You know, I was just figuring at that little square, get that ball somewhere in that little square,
close to the little square,
from the right side from the left side, so on and so forth. Your ball's gonna go in, because we like to shoot bank shots.
Yeah, Ice told us, you know, Ice is known for doing the finger roll, and he told us where he got the finger roll from was you.
Yeah.
He just got a different version of it from farther out, and using the big square, and we've had that conversation, man. And I'm like, Ice, I ain't messing with that big square, man. I'm gonna stick with my stuff. You gotta stick with what brought me there.
Yeah, how was that for you to see him, you know, take what you was doing and then evolve it to you know, what it became and how it became his legendary move that, and you know, like he said, he started playing with it, flicking it up there where the big guys just floating over their finger. How was it for you to just see him take that and just take it to another level like that?
The good news about it was, you know, he did it with a certain modesty.
Right.
And it was like, you know, I just wasn't talking a whole lot of trash.
Yeah.
Or whatever. He just let his game do the talking.
Smile.
That was my style. And you know, it's funny because when they used to come in, San Antonio used to come in and play Philly or whatever, you know, we tried to put Maurice cheeks on him, and he'd be like, when I come in there, I have my can of Raid, and I'm just going to spray it on cheeks because, you know, once I get the ball over my head, I'm good. But if I'm handling the ball, cheeks could cause problems for him, you know, because he's so good defensively. So we used to go out to dinner all the time, and we'd talk shop and we'd talk basketball.
You dunked on a lot of people, and it's a lot of your dunks are still getting showed to this day. What's one of the ones that's like your all-time favorite? Like what's Dr. J all-time favorite dunk on that you'd have had?
Yeah. I've spoken to this a few times. Elvin Hayes in Washington, Capitol Center. We had a rivalry with them. It was like a turnpike rivalry, Philly and DC, and we used to go by bus to the games. So, bus ride up, bus ride down, whatever. You're uncomfortable. You kind of, tired, frustrated, or whatever. You want to take it out on somebody. So we got to the joint, and this was in Landover. And I think either Bobby Dandridge or whoever the other guy was guarding me, and I got around him, and I'm going in the lane, and that damn Wes Unseld was back there helping, and Elvin, and it's I knew Unseld would hurt you,
strong,
because he would hurt you, and not even blink.
Yeah. And
then he would take the courage from the other players on your team, because they wouldn't even come out and come to your rescue. They might not even come out and pick you up.
That's a bull right there.
They gonna get hit by him too. So he was the only guy that Wilt was scared of in the league. And I always heard that before I got over to the league.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about. I turn this corner and I'm thinking about, because I see Wes out the corner of my eye, and he's not even jumping. He's like just, posting up over there. And so I jumped away from him. And who did I meet in midair? Elvin Hayes.
Elvin Hayes.
I met, and Elvin used to always block shots like this.
Two hands.
He wouldn't block with left hand or right hand. He blocked with two hands. And you can't block those shots with two hands for somebody who could palm the ball.
Yeah, they can move it.
I can wave it a little bit.
You can move
and
it.
Find the middle.
Yeah.
Find the middle, and then kaboom. So we're up in the air. We chest to chest, and I'm moving the ball around. He's still up there with the two hands, and I'm gliding through the air. He's being forced back. And, I dunked the ball really, really hard enough to like suck the air out the building, whatever. So this was maybe like in 88, 89. It was in the 80s.
Yeah.
And because they went to title back to back, for 2 years with Seattle. Elvin wouldn't speak to me.
He wouldn't speak to you?
He wouldn't speak to me, man. So now we go to Cleveland, and they celebrating the 50th anniversary of the NBA.
Yeah.
I remember this.
And we both, made the team. And we had dinner with Wilt Chamberlain and Willis Reed. And that was the first time he spoke to me since that dunk shot,
Whoa.
And then he stopped speaking again. Because, it's not like we talked all the time anyway, but he stopped speaking again. And I knew he was still kind of bothered by it, because I wasn't talking about it. But I wanted to get the freedom to talk about it. Yeah. Somebody said, what was the best one? Yeah. That was the best one. And then in 2019, he called me up. Said, I ain't mad at you no more, man. And I really want you to do my radio show. Because he had a radio show in Houston and whatever. I did the show, man. We got on there, we laughed, and just remember, because we both old, we old farts already by 2019, all these years later. And we're cool. I think we're cool. If I see him in a restaurant or whatever, I'm gonna speak. I don't know whether he is or not. But
how was that for you, to be recognized as the 50th greatest players, like to be a part of that historic group, and to see your peers and see some of the guys that that watched you to get put on that list too.
Yeah.
Like that's the greats of the greats. I remember the jackets.
Yeah, I remember
had.
watching
Them
that.
Jackets y'all had was so dope. I was like,
right. Well, there's a picture of that group, and in the center of the picture, there's Pete Maravich, and I'm right next to Pete Maravich. And lots of times I've looked at that picture of me and Pete, and I've looked at us as the game changers. You know, just from the generation before to what was happening during the eras in which we played, or whatever. Because I mean, Earl Monroe did all kind of stuff on the ground,
right?
But he really didn't do nothing that Pete Maravich didn't do.
Yeah, right.
Pete Maravich on the ground and me in the air, or whatever, changed basketball.
Yeah,
and there's no going back after it gets changed. The set shot's gone. I mean, they shooting a one-hand set shot, but they ain't shooting no two-hand set shots.
No,
and just a lot of the stuff, the outlet passes, and they had names for certain things that you did on a basketball court. When you were learning how to play basketball, you need to make a two-hand chest pass. You need to, the whole behind the back thing, and that was just a showboating. Or whatever, the baseball pass, and just things that don't exist today. You go CYO, you go recreation leagues, and so on and so forth. They got a whole different language that they're speaking now.
Yeah, and
it's reflected in the game and the kids. The way that they play, man. They get down differently, and that's the evolution of the sport.
Straight up. Nicknames like Dr. J is one of the all-time great nicknames you can have. Like, and you had Dr. J before you even touched the NBA court or anything like that. For people to call you Doctor, like Dr. J, how was that making you feel when like the world knew you as Dr. J?
Yeah. So back in I guess high school, maybe last year, middle school, high school. I had a buddy who I just called a professor, and he called me the doctor. We just wanted to have professional sounding nicknames, and he's still the professor, and I'm still the doctor.
That's dope.
And for people to recognize the nickname, for it to be used in endorsements, and for it to be regarded as something special, for that's generational. So if you can have, an 80-year-old say, "Oh, I know who Dr. J is," that's Julius Erving, or a 10-year-old,
yes,
in the same building say, "Oh, I know who Dr. J is. That's Julius Erving," or whatever. That's multi-generational.
Yes,
and that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen to everyone. So I think there's a lot of responsibility that goes with it. Because if you're a factor in somebody else's life, whatever, hopefully you can live up to that. And not that you wake up every morning saying, well, I'm going to live up to other people's expectations or whatever. Yeah. I'm going to live up to my own expectations. And if it jives with other people's expectations, then that's good. That's a double win.
Mm-hmm. How was it for you when you first started playing basketball, young Doc? Like, when did you pick up the game and what made you start playing ball?
Yeah. I was a Salvation Army kid.
Okay.
So I grew up in Hempstead, Long Island. And I did K through 8 in Hempstead, Long Island. I did 9 through 12 in Roosevelt, Long Island. And, Roosevelt's known. It's a small community in Long Island. It's where Eddie Murphy comes from, and Howard Stern, Chuck D.
Shout out Chuck D.
Yeah,
Chuck D is a real ball fanatic.
There you go.
A lot of people don't know that. He know a lot of stuff.
There you go. And he's always posting it too, So that was my 9 to 12 experience. But during the K through 8, when I started playing basketball, we had our school team, which is Prospect Elementary, and then we had the Salvation Army team. Right. The Salvation Army team was so desirable for me because we traveled. So we would leave Nassau County and go to Suffolk County, and we would leave Nassau County, go to Queens, We leave Nassau County, we go to Manhattan, we go to Brooklyn, we go to Bronx. We be in and out of Harlem. Our coach used to take us to Madison Square Garden to see the Knicks and all the doubleheaders they used to have. So, we get excited about seeing the pros come in and playing the doubleheaders in the Garden, the old Garden, and they had obstructed view seats.
Right.
You had to look around a pole to see the game, man. If you got one of those seats behind the pole, you were screwed if the guy next to you wouldn't let you lean over into his seat and watch the game. So you miss half the game with that obstructed view seat. So for me, I got hooked on it. I played all the sports, but basketball was always my favorite. And then actually I had an accident in football where I tore the ligaments in my knee, in my right knee, and it like put me on the sideline for a long time from all sports. And I was really, really fortunate to come back from that. So I kind of, learned how to come back from stuff and not let it, not let it make me quit, or get me down. And, in sports, you're always going to have that. You're always going to have something that you're going to have to come back from. So having that experience so early in life, I think it helped me a lot later in life with all the things that were thrown at me.
So for you, when you grew up, like who was the guy, if you tried to pattern your game after, or you looked up to, or you was like, man, I want to, we all had whoever we looked up to. Who was that for Dr. J? Who did you look up to? Yeah,
he recently has passed. And I've done a couple of shows, did Sunny Hill show Sunday, and I've done a couple of shows to talk about him, did the LA Times, did ESPN, but it was Elgin Baylor. Yeah. It was Elgin Baylor, man. I mean, first and foremost, but one of my coaches said, man, you play a little like Connie Hawkins. I had never heard of Connie Hawkins, but I had seen Elgin Baylor. And then I eventually heard of Connie Hawkins, and I was like, man, that's a great compliment. When they tell you play, your game is reminding them of Connie Hawkins. Except I never got to be 6'8". But Elgin Baylor, man, Elgin was so far ahead of his time. He could play in today's game. And he was averaging 30 as it was back then.
Right.
What's that number going to look like? 40, 45? Right.
They say he played with the Lakers on the weekend because he was in the Army.
Yeah, if you just turn him loose. And he is a special story. And I know it's going to be told more and more now that he's passed. And Sonny was telling me that he has a book that's coming out, because he was very reluctant to write a book because he was so sensitive to people's feelings and whatever. And just a lot of stuff that were representative of who Elgin Baylor was. But the first time I saw him on TV, I was that kid, got my ball, went down to the park, said, hey, man, watch this. I was telling my boy, watch this. Come on the right side, pick up the dribble before you get in the lane, and step across the lane and go to the other side and just put it up, with the same hand, without the other hand touching the ball. That was Elgin Baylor, man. That was Elgin Baylor. And they were, wow. My friends were like, wow, man. I was like, yeah, man, I just saw this dude do this. And I saw him come down on the break, crisscross, go to pass, take the shot, whatever. I mean, it was just, he was doing stuff that was different than what the other guys were doing. Yeah. And all of those guys, Bill Russell, Oscar Robertson, Jerry West, they would all say the same thing. They would look at Elgin just like, he was a gift from God.
Right. Yeah, the Elgin actually he drafted both of us. We we were with the Clippers. He drafted us to the Clippers, man. And I mean, definitely send condolences and prayers to his wife and family, man, because they were always, he and his wife were always extremely, extremely nice to us and always outgoing, willing to help if they could, and just whenever you saw, obviously they were at every single game sitting together, and we would always see them after the game. They always had kind words and offering to help in any type of way.
And humble.
Extremely
as pie,
extremely humble.
Yeah. And he had reason to be tripping if he was going to trip.
Yes, he did.
He scored 81 points in the game, man. 71, I think. I think Kobe had 81. He had 70, and he averaged 38 one year. And I mean, just stuff that is kind of lost in basketball history because, I think the league makes an effort to promote the game from 90 on. And all the other stuff is real old school. But there's some good stuff in that old school, man.
There's some great stuff in there.
There's some good stuff that people can learn from.
Moves, all the origins of the moves that y'all used to do and everything, them still are the moves that's getting done today. Today.
Yeah.
Tell me this: when you were coming out, what made you choose UMASS? What was the deal? Like, how did you choose them?
Yeah. So come from Long Island, right? And I took like 2 visits out of state towards the west. I went out to Iowa State. I didn't like cornfields and all that stuff.
Right.
Out there, man. I was just like, I was lost out there, 17 years old. And I went to Buffalo, New York. So I didn't really care for that. I had, University of Buffalo. And I had a budding relationship with St. John's and their coach, Lou Conaseca. So, he was like, he really wanted me to come to St. John's. And my high school coach played at BU. High school coach was Ray Wilson. He played at BU with Jack Lehman, who coached UMass. And I took 2 visits to UMass. I had a bunch of times going over to St. John's. And at the end of the day, I was going to go to one place or the other. I had ruled out one school down south because of, all the stuff that my cousins were experiencing. And my mother was one of 14 kids. So the whole South thing and the schools down south weren't going to be a fit for me. As it turned out, it came down to St. John's and UMass, and the relationship between my high school coach and the coach there carried over to me. And I knew it's somebody who, would look out for me. And if things didn't work out in basketball, I still had, the academic desire, and I had a guy who would be in my corner. Not that Lou Conaseca wouldn't be, but I think if I stayed home, if I stayed in New York and went to school in Queens, I would be a commuter. And it wasn't gonna be like the real college experience. You know what I mean? And UMass had a sprawling campus, and it was a great institution. And they had a program that was on the rise. We posted we had an undefeated freshman team. We posted 18-6 my sophomore year, and then we 23-2 my junior year. And that was my last year there.
But you averaged 26 and 20.
Yeah, well, that was the individual
and
side of it.
26 points and 20 boards. Like, what? What?
Hey, man, it would have been nice if they ran some plays for me.
Straight up.
Hey, wait, tell me this though. What was it like playing in college when the NCAA was prohibiting dunks then?
You know what?
How was that?
That's what makes those numbers
crazy.
Really, that makes them resonate, because there was no dunking, because a lot of people say, well, you got a whole lot of dunks. They think I got 30,000 points on dunks. I got like 30-some thousand points in my pro career, and they wasn't all dunk shots.
Hey, let them know, Doc. You was a certified bucket out here. It wasn't just dunk. Yeah, I put some people buckets. To sleep, but I was getting buckets.
We was getting buckets, man. You talk about the dunk. Hey, come on, the dunk was the highlight. That was the icing on the cake.
Yeah, that was just for your posters. Like, let me put you on this poster real quick, say cheese.
You making my ego come out, bro.
It's an iconic photo of you. I don't think this Rucker. I think this is another park court. And it's an iconic photo of you. And I always love this photo because it shows you have the fro on and you have the team league shirt. But I love this photo so much to see the crowd in the background. You can see the train track. You can see the crowd at the apartment building. Everybody looking out the window, and just the energy of the crowd. You remember this photo? Remember the story? Like, just tell us about like the crowds, like the Ruckers and all that stuff. That you playing in front of big crowds before you even got to the big leagues, and like
well, the Rucker League, that was a Rucker League photo when they're sitting on the buildings and playing over on the side, and that's 155th and 8th Avenue in New York, so right in the heart of Harlem. And I never played in Rucker Park till after my junior year in college. So I always played in a lot of other playgrounds. I played in playgrounds in D.C. When we traveled down to South Carolina to visit my family, play all the hoops that was just put up on a pole.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever. So wherever there was a game, there was a game. The Rucker Park experience started for me at age 21, and I played 5 years. So I played from age 21 to age 26 in the off seasons. I was there like clockwork.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of helped my playground creds
right
go to another level, and also the playground game being brought into the traditional game.
Yeah.
The pro game.
Yeah.
And those 5 years were the 5 years I played in the ABA.
Yeah.
So the ABA and the Rucker League, I think once again, game changers in terms of how people would see basketball, how they would view basketball. They look for a little bit more spice on it. They look for the show.
Yeah.
And, obviously above the rim stuff, and kids trying to develop their games in that way where, they can go above the rim. And they've gone far past, what I was able to do. Those guys going around their neck, around their back, between the legs, and then still dunking the ball. I'm like, how do they stay up that long?
and it's a lot of them doing it.
Never occurred to me that you could do all that. But the NBA's acceptance of it culminated after the 75-76 season. So my team with the Nets, we won the ABA championship. Boston Celtics won the NBA championship. And then that off season, that was the off season of off seasons. That was just like the AFL and the NFL, or the AL and the NL getting together and creating the NFL, both leagues coming together and being under one umbrella. So the ABA and the NBA coming together. And that summer, the NBA wanted some of what the ABA had, no question about it. Yeah. We had Iceman, David Thompson, George McGinnis, Artis Gilmore, Dan Issel, and a whole bunch of guys who could really play, who hopefully will get their chance to be nominated and accepted in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So that would be cool. That would be a big one for me to see that happen. Because they made the leagues want to be under one roof. And then once they got under one roof, I think the ABA players and the ABA franchises have represented themselves very well.
Yeah.
How was that transition for you, going from the ABA where you win championships and being a big star, and then coming to the NBA? How did that go down for you?
When I went to Philly, my whole role changed, because when I was with the Nets, I was leading scorer 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And Gervin and David Thompson, they was after me.
Right.
But when I went to Philly and I went there, they had George McGinnis and World Be Free and Doug Collins. That general manager said, we don't need nobody who's going to score 30. Right. So I had to really adjust my game. And those guys know it. They knew, what my game could have been offensively if on the right team. Mm-hmm. But on that team, they said, this is the way we're going to get to the championship. And then the next 6 years, we got there 3 times. Yeah. We got to the finals 3 times.
That was right.
And then we got Big Mo, and then it was, it was a wrap after that. That next year. We were 12-1 in the playoffs. Yeah. So that little 7-year period, going to finals 4 times in 7 years, that was our era right there. And I wish we had won a second time or third time, but it was a special one. And, it was one of the all-time great runs. Yeah. But I still think 4 times in 7 years. I'm feeling like Gary Player, because Gary Player, the great golfer, he says, I won the Masters like 4 times, and I was runner-up 5 times. He always mentions that when I sit with him. And I said, what? I'm runner-up too. I know what that feels like.
I know you're a dunker, and you had Chocolate Thunder on your team. How hard did Chocolate Thunder used to dunk the ball?
Hey, man, you know what? It's Shaq. It's Shaq before Shaq.
Yeah. Right.
Shaq was the way he dunked the ball and, brought his legs up and wanted to tear down backboards. I think he had Chocolate Thunder in mind sometimes when he would go down low on guys. Like, oh yeah, I got this little guy on me right now.
Yeah, I gotta do this.
I'm gonna do what my man Daryl Dawkins would do.
Yeah.
And Daryl, the difference between Shaq and Daryl is Shaq would dunk on you, and then he'd still go get like 30 or 40 or whatever. Daryl would dunk on you, and Daryl was so happy, he'd be like, I'm done. He's like, I'm done. I'm like, Daryl, you got to keep playing, man. It's a 48-minute game.
No, I did already.
He's like, I got it in, man. I dunked on this guy, whatever. So
it was one more team I wanted to ask you about, and World Be Free.
Yeah,
I used to love World Be Free. I thought he was nice.
How was World Be Free? He was a free spirit. He's one of the nicest guys right now, because we have a Philadelphia alumni, and he's a community ambassador for the Sixers. We were both the first year. We were both commuting out of our homes in New York to play in Philly. So I would swing by and pick him up, and then he would drive down to Philly for us to go to practice, for the games and everything, because we would
drive back and forth from New York. Oh,
yeah, we would commute from New York, man. Anytime we got to go to New York, we were in New York, and it was kind of crazy during that time. And he's told the stories and he's put it on video, so that's something you guys ought to get a hold of sometime. Our rides from New York to Philly, and he was on a team where he and Daryl came in together, and he was drafted in a team that was loaded, that was stacked, and he wanted to find his spot. So, he came off the bench, and he came off the bench with firepower because he was gonna put it up.
Yeah, World Be Free putting it up. As a matter of
fact, him, Steve Mix, Jelly Bean, Daryl, because Daryl came off the bench because Caldwell Jones was the starter.
Mm-hmm.
And Daryl came off the bench. Harvey Catchings came off the bench. But that team that second team, they call themselves the Bomb Squad, man. I don't know if you ever heard about that.
The Bomb Squad. I like
they call themselves the Bomb Squad because they were coming in bombing.
I like that.
And Daryl said, whoever got it, shot it.
Tell me about the first dunk contest back in the ABA 76, and that happens to be with you and Iceman. How was that for you guys? Had you ever been in dunk contest or anything prior to that?
Not at that level, but every camp I ran, we would have dunk contests.
Mm-hmm.
I was with Converse and Spalding for those early years in the 70s. We would have dunk contests, and we would go abroad. So we would go to China, we'd go to Europe, we'd go to South America. And, you know, I always kind of ended my talks with the dunk from the foul line and doing something that nobody had seen anybody do. So I had honed that skill, and I knew the effect that it would have on people. So when we were in Denver last year, the ABA, and the Denver Nuggets were playing against the All-Stars from around the league, because there was only 7 teams left, right? So we got Denver hosted it, and they kept their team intact. And they had David Thompson and Dan Issel, and they had Marvin Webster. And so anyway, so they dispersed players from around the league and created an all-star team. And we go to Denver. So Carl Scheer, who's, you know, forward-thinking guy, he said, you know, at halftime of this all-star game, to spice it up, we ought to have a slam dunk contest. So that was almost put together on the spot. You know, it wasn't like a year-long planning. We knew that. So it wasn't really a whole lot of time for players to prepare. And he said, well, this is going to be the rules. We're going to have one from the left, one from the right, one from underneath the basket. Yeah. And that's why it was so stagnant, you know. Yeah. And then one under the, and so guys just stood under the basket and dunked 2 balls. Either dunked 2 balls or just did a 2-handed twisting dunk or whatever, a stationary dunk. And you had a left and right. Then you could run in from one of the sides. And then they had a line. They had a piece of tape there inside the foul line. And they said, well, you got to dunk from outside of this tape. And it wasn't 15 feet, you know, it was probably like at 10 feet. So everybody could do that. Everybody could do that dunk. But with 15 feet, where the foul line is, everybody couldn't do that.
Right.
And that was one of the difference makers in that dunk contest, because I could do that. And, you know, I was kind of like neck and neck with David Thompson, and he came out of the corner. He did like a 360, boom, and it went off the back of the rim. And he missed, like I did with Larry Nance the next year when I missed. Yeah. You know, and when you missed back in the day, it was a penalty. It was just like, you're done. You're done. So when he missed, because he probably was, you know, as good or maybe even a better dunker than me, and really doesn't get enough credit today. Skywalker was awesome, man. Yeah. He was awesome. Yeah. But it was fun. It's fun to have a memory. It's fun to be the winner of the inaugural slam dunk contest. Nobody could take that away from you. Mm-hmm. And I guess it was meant to be.
Just to see where it's at now, like this is almost 40 years later. Like to see the game is still doing that, all for y'all doing the dunk contest and seeing kids and how the dunks have evolved now. Now we seeing these kids throwing it between their legs, jumping over people,
jumping over cars.
Yeah, so, to see how it evolved, how is that? To see from you seen it from the start, and you've seen all these all-star games, and you've seen people bring something new to the table.
Yeah, I always try to think of what happened before me, and Wilt was a dunker. Elgin Baylor was a dunker. Connie Hawkins was a dunker. Yeah. There was a guy who played for the Knicks, and I used to have to walk past his house to go to school every day. Johnny Green, man, jumping Johnny Green, they called him. And he'd get those tips around the basket, and he could dunk the ball. So who's there? Gus Johnson. Honeycomb Johnson played with Baltimore here in Erving Road down there. Yeah. He was tearing down backboards, man. Mm. Honeycomb was tearing down backboards and just grabbed the rim like Darryl and Shaq. Mm. And he's a forward. Mm. So nobody was messing with him. So those things that I saw, as well as the finesse and the power, or whatever, those were things that were influencers on my game. And then when I played and got satisfaction, when you get satisfaction, I mean, it just builds your confidence.
Yeah.
So, I thought that there were years in which I felt it was the best player in the world. And there were years in which I felt, can't nobody touch this. Not to shout it out, bang the chest or talk trash, but I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it. Yeah.
I want to talk to you about the rivalry in the early 80s with the Lakers. Like to me, because these days we hear different things and they say, oh, it's a rivalry. It's like, I don't think this is a rivalry like they used to have back in the day. Like, y'all dudes was out there really throwing punches, coming to blows, and doing all those like this. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was real competition and also real venom out there from the physicality of everything.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that rivalry with them guys and then you guys finally breaking through and beating them in the championship?
Yeah. So the rivalry was really Philly-Boston and LA-Boston. Everybody hated Boston.
Right. I can remember you do coming
to
blows with Bird and Miguel too.
Hey man, we still do. Everybody hates Boston. And it's so funny. I used to go there and way up in the bleachers, way up in the stands, there's somebody who would have like a red number 6 up there because I went to UMASS, right?
Right. Okay.
So they'd have a little red 6. So I was like, one person in this whole building loves me. I wonder if that's a family member or something.
Right.
But I would see it. So Boston was the rivalry. And we got by Boston my first year in Philly, and they were defending champs. And it was a 7-game series. And at the end of the game, World B. Free was dribbling out the clock on one knee over there at half court. And so that was like, all right, we got Boston in a very interesting place. They're beatable.
Right.
So and we had our ups and downs with them the next 8-10 years or whatever. But that was the rivalry. And if we felt if we beat Boston, it was almost like winning the championship.
Right.
Yeah.
And the 2 times when we played LA before the 3rd time, so in 80 and 82, we had to get past Boston, and we got past Boston and then ran into LA. And in LA, LA was, a professional organization, man. They do whatever they had to do to go and get the best players, and then they'd add on. They always had great coaching, whatever. They always had confidence. And they had gotten so far past, Boston whooping them up all those times. Because during the Russell years, Bill Russell, when I talked to him, he's such a funny guy. He says, yeah, they had a whole lot of balloons up in the ceiling playing that home game. And when the game was over, those balloons were still up in the ceiling. They didn't have no reason to let them down. They weren't gonna let them down for us. But yeah. So the 2 losses to LA, 80, 82. 80 was Magic's coming out party. Mm-hmm. And then 82, when Tony went down, Norm Nixon went down. You talking about the contact, right?
Tony,
right.
Hey man, it was for real. It was for real, man. Guys was hitting and not taking any names and not taking any prisoners or whatever. So it was rough. And the year, we get Moses in that off season. That summer, and we come back. And, we have the best record in the league, so we got home court advantage, whatever. And, before the series started, they asked Mo, so what does it take to win the championship, big fella? He said, 4-4-4. He said 4-4-4. And, our boys in Philly made that into a song or whatever. Because they call it 4-5-4 because we lost one game to Milwaukee during that time.
Right.
12-1. And Moses, man, he just, he got amped up when he played Kareem because he was like, I never want to lose this matchup. He's Kareem's a great player, all-time leading scorer in the history of the league, or whatever. He said, but I never want to lose this matchup. And I don't remember losing any matchups with him. So he just wore him down, man. He wore the team down, and the rest of us, we did what we needed to do. Tony was great, Cheeks was great. And it was a fine moment, and it was a crowning moment just from a legacy standpoint. Because I think if I had not been able to win an NBA championship or whatever, I might be looked at a little differently, and then I am looked at. And so I was glad to get that out the way because, there's a whole list of guys who don't have no rings.
Yeah, they still talk about it to this day.
And it's not a kind conversation, right?
Yeah. Let me ask you this. This is the era they so-called say of the big three. Wilt, Elgin, and West wasn't a big three, or was Magic?
Of course they were.
Magic,
of course.
Kareem, and James Worthy. They was big threes, right?
Absolutely.
So when I be hearing this story, I hear today's talking about like, man, big three, or LeBron started the big three, and I'm like, man, I've seen a history of big three where it's been three legendary players playing together, winning chips.
Yeah, it's just in those situations in the past, the owner, the president, the general manager is the one who put those players together, and now the players put it together. Yeah. They corner off their boys, summer vacation or what have you. And in those cases that you mentioned, those were players' deals. And you look at the Nets now with Kyrie and Harden and Durant or whatever. That probably was an organizational deal, like in the past. But in most of LeBron's situations, when he went to Miami, and Bosh and him and Dwayne, they collaborated on it. It's like, hey man, this guy I want to play with. We're gonna be accountable if you bring us together. And so that's what made it a little difference. And then it's back to the internet thing, the communication. It's out there, it's public. The salaries are public now. Yeah. Before the salaries weren't even public.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So it's changed. It's changed.
You spoke on the playground guys at the Ruck and everything. Who in the league right now? What players you think fit that bill that could have played on the playground or could play on the playground?
Well, Kyrie is a good mention. Harden, the Nets team, the whole Nets team.
Straight up, the whole
Curry could play out there. And the guys like MJ and Durant, and they've all gone to the Rucker just to have that experience.
Yeah.
They've gone. And I didn't even know till after I had played there that the guy would just hold the clock. So when you get 40, 50, 60 or whatever, it ain't like a 48-minute game. It's like a 72-minute game.
Like he's cooking.
Yeah, we just stopped the play. Everybody, hey, it's Sunday. Everybody having a good time. Everybody's safe. The guys are playing. These players ain't getting tired. They ain't watching the clock. The guy who was watching the clock, man, he was really controlling everything.
If you could pick 4 other guys from the Rucker to play with, that you seen when you came up them 5 years playing the Rucker, who is them 4 other guys? Some we know, some we don't know.
Yeah. So Tiny Archibald,
Tiny.
he'd be captain of the ship. He led the league in scoring and assists.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a guy named Ollie Taylor.
Ollie Taylor.
He played with me in the Rucker League. And he went to the University of Houston. And he was like 6'4", but he could jump out the gym. And strong and had a good shot. Was an exciting player to watch. He actually played in the ABA, played with the Nets. So, he's a guy who I would look at. Joe Hammond. Joe Hammond is the playground legend at the Rucker League, and he just came and played when he felt like showing up. so they couldn't keep track of Joe, but he could come out there and he almost any night he dropped 30, whatever. And the last guy, probably just as a playground guy, Fly Williams, comes to mind.
Fly.
Fly was Fly. and he can get it done. But the list goes on. The guards, there were so many guards, shake and bake. It's just guys who, in today's game, people want to see a show. Yeah. That was a place where you can get a show.
Say, if guys could dribble like Kyrie dribbled the ball, so it'll be on, huh?
Yeah, I know. Kyrie got some handles, man. Yeah, he might be a distant relative.
Hey, speaking on, those nicknames and the Fly nicknames, it always take me back to you being, one of the coolest dudes ever in the league. Like, how was with your mindset and your demeanor? Were you aware that you were like this icon of coolness, or you was just doing you and it just so happened that everybody dug it?
For me, I didn't want to be Dr. J off the court. It was like an alter ego thing. I never introduced myself as Dr. J. Introduced myself as Julius Erving. Name my mother and father gave me. And when I got on the court, that was like putting on a Superman suit.
Right.
Putting on the cape.
Becoming Batman, Superman, whatever, I was like, when I step within those lines, you're looking at a different guy. Yeah. And if I was going to lunch or dinner or a meeting or even a speech or whatever, I want to go as Julius Erving. And I wanted to be respected as that individual, who was an American citizen, Black American, who college educated, who was bringing something else to the table other than what I could bring athletically.
Right.
So I wanted to park the athletic piece at that door to the arena, or to something outside of the arena. And so on the court was different. On the court was Dr. J. Off the court it was Julius. Now they all merged together because it don't matter. Because nobody care.
Might as well put it on your ID now, huh?
Yeah.
For me, this is like one of many, but like one of the pinch yourself moments. Like, what I'm saying? When I told my pops, like, yo, we gonna have Dr. J, he said, Doctor, really? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, my pops old school, you know what I'm saying? Like, he when I could get him excited and stuff like that, like,
that's nice.
That's crazy. Like, cause I grew up watching ball with my mom. My mom was an athlete. She hooped, you know what I'm saying? She the one who got me watching Georgetown, DePaul, because it was on WGN, you know what I'm saying? So she was the one, and like some of my earliest memories is of watching you rock the cradle on Michael Cooper. And like that's some of my earliest memories of basketball. Now we get to sit here and chop it up with you on our show. Like, that's like crazy, a big blessing and just out of here. So, even though we in the middle, I just still gotta say appreciate it right quick. You know what I'm saying?
It's good all the way around, man. And I admire the job that you guys did. I got a chance to watch you play and, have very strong feelings for you and your abilities, game the way you adjusted and adopted to the game and, and did your thing, whatever. So I'm a basketball fan too. And when I see the transition from player to non-player and that you could still be productive, do something with your life, that you like to do, whatever, that makes me happy.
Yeah, you hear that, Pops? Dr. J, proud of us.
But I don't always talk about basketball every day. or whatever. So it really is a tribute when you get the invitation from you guys and, you know, help you with your podcast and, you know, obviously help me keep my name alive, and keep my rep intact and whatever. And, you know, I just appreciate that too.
Oh no, your name gonna be live forever. I want to tell you this. I think I had to be like 6 or 7, and my mom went and bought me a basketball goal, and they were selling these basketball goals with the DR.J goal, and they used to have your face on the backboard, and it had your like autograph on it.
Yeah.
Oh, I used to love that.
What was that called? It was Little Sport, maybe.
I had one of them, and I used to go to war.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had one of them.
So what was you? Did you tear? How long did it take you to tear it up?
No, we bought about 3 of them, so I was tearing them up left
you
and
put them
right.
in the rotation, huh?
Yeah, I was tearing them up left and right, but my mom used to always give them. I just used to remember, always seeing your face on the backboard with your autograph on it, and we always play on it.
Yeah, that was cool, man. The whole, you know, that's a whole other question too about endorsements.
Endorsements, yeah.
So in 70, 71, you know, I turned pro, and Adidas was like the official shoe of the league. And then the second year in the league, I actually got to deal with Converse, and Converse was the universal bestseller during that time. They had the biggest market share. So signed with Converse, which was one of the first shoe endorsements, because my tennis comrades at that time were Jimmy Connors and Chris Everett, and they got Converse endorsements. So we all had Converse endorsements around the same time, and that was pretty special because before that, you know, certainly Black athletes weren't getting those endorsements. You know, I don't remember Jackie Robinson having any endorsements. As great as he was, and much of a game changer as he was, and then after he passed, you know, they had him doing some coffee
Shout out Barry.
endorsement. There you go.
Dr. J basketball.
Yeah,
there it is.
Right there. That's it right there.
What's it called?
Dr. J basketball, Ohio Art. It's Lil Sport though. Lil
Sport. Yeah.
Learn to play like Dr. J.
Straight up. So we had Lil Sport, and we had a Chapstick. We had Coca-Cola. I mean, you know, it's just like, the line, it just opened the door in the floodgate.
Yeah.
And so for me, I said, well, let me be very careful about what I let to attach my name, face, and likeness to. So, you know, my agent and I, we talked about just going for the cream of the crop. You can't just do everything. You can't be all things to all people or whatever. So go for the cream of the crop. So that was the pattern. And we did that right up into becoming Coca-Cola bottler with Bruce Llewellyn and Bill Cosby, you know, all the way in the 80s, in 1985. Yeah. So that was sort of like the crowning relationship, crowning endorsement.
You've been around since the climate change of racism, like how the leagues now are really being in social justice, helping out in issues that a lot of the Black athletes have and so forth. So you come from the 70s always and now, so you just seen how these leagues wouldn't let Black athletes do certain things or stay in certain hotels or do certain things to now they're supporting not only the athletes, but they doing it publicly on TV and showing the support. Speak on that to see how this 40-year change went from this to where we at now. So, we still got a long way to go, but you know, we getting close.
Well, there's no end to it. There's no end to this particular cycle. What there is change and continuous change. So I predate the 70s, and then in the 60s, during my teenage years, you know, this is when John F. Kennedy got assassinated in 63, and then followed by Reverend King getting assassinated in 1968 and 69, another Kennedy assassination, Malcolm X assassination, whatever. So that was like the tone. You start start talking about an appreciation of life. You know, now life is very fickle, you know, because somebody can get a gun and get by security, which is supposed to be the best security in the country,
right?
Yeah,
and take somebody out or whatever. So now you got to park your ego at the door, and you got to say, well, you know, all right, when I go out at night, am I ever going to come back home? You know, and is it going to be something by a knucklehead, an assassin, or is it going to be the police?
Yeah,
you know. So we were on watch, you know, during that time, and I think a lot of activity occurred, but there was no internet.
Yeah,
you know. So now, you know, you guys can say something on this podcast that gets picked up, and the whole world can start talking about it immediately.
Yeah.
Before, it took time for, you know, the messages to go across and travel from one city to another, one country to another. You know, so the world moved a lot slower during that time. Guys who I went to high school with went to Vietnam.
Right.
So 67, 68, 69. So in 3 years, there were dozens who went and a lot less came back. So here we are now with the life or death issue or whatever. So what's important in this world? Is it the preservation of your life, or the preservation of your values, or the preservation of your memory? You know? And I would think in preservation of life would be the first priority.
Right.
And then the values would be next, because now you're talking about how you make your kids feel and how they grow up, what they value in life, what they think is important in life, and not only your kids, but also now your friends and your circle, because that's how you can be judged by the company that you keep. And then, you know, following that, you know, what's going to be your memory? What people going to remember you for? You know, if you could do some things that make people remember you, you know, that's great. That may not be for everyone, but, you know, for me, I mean, I think that's important. You know, that's why I have a documentary in my life. That's why I have an autobiography or whatever, so that, you know, when I'm gone, there's the message can still be shared, you know, in the inner circle first, and then out of the inner circle after that. And plus, you know, coming on a podcast and talking to brothers like you guys or whatever, you know, this is a chance to say how it was and how it continues to be today, like it was, in terms of the things that are problematic. But we're coming with better solutions. We're coming with more immediate solutions, more powerful solutions to the same problem, the same damn problems, you know, that we went through in the 60s and 70s and 80s. Y'all got the same damn problems. And now just coming with better solutions, but there's no end to it. It's not like you're trying to get to an end result. You're trying to get to equality, and you're trying to get to this no privilege for some and not for others. And you're trying to get to a state where, you know, you're respected, and, you know, so when someone disrespects you, there's a consequence. Yeah. There's a consequence to them instead of it being inconsequential. Yeah. That answer your question?
Oh yeah, that definitely did.
Okay.
Michael Jordan used to always say that you was his favorite player and you was the one he always looked to. When you used to see him play, did you see the similarities in the palming the ball, or, you know what I'm saying, the dunk style and stuff like that? Did you see the similarities of seeing that he was watching you?
Yeah, you know, and we played against each other. It was like 3 years where we overlapped. And, you know, that first year he was hurt. And then the second year, so 80, 84, 85, and 86. You know, that time when we overlapped. And it was funny because I remember he came down and he dunked on like our whole team. And then I went down and dunked on his team. And whatever, I was looking at him, he was looking at me, and he was like, I could do it again, you know. I said, all right, well, I only get one shot at it. You know, I made it. So,
right.
but it was fun. And you know, those years when we overlapped, I caught him before he really hit his stride.
Yeah.
In those first 3 years, you know, he was scoring a lot of points.
Yeah.
But he was trying to find himself, find the right mix of teammates, and whatever. There were a lot of things going on during that time with him. And we, you know, we did some things in the off season together. We played golf in the off season and just, you know, non-recreational type stuff. We had some endorsement opportunities. I think we were down in Atlanta once, and he was doing, it was probably just a Coca-Cola situation, and before he had signed his deal with Gatorade. And so, you know, I mean, I always liked him, and I always felt that he had a lot of respect, and he had a lot of admiration, and, you know, he was going to carry the torch.
Yeah.
And he certainly desired to do it. Did a hell of a job.
Yeah.
He did a hell of a job. Yeah.
Yeah, I seen a quote. He said that when he was a young MJ, he said even if he never won championships and stuff like that, he hoped that he just walked away from the game with the same amount of respect that you possess from everybody around you. How does that make you feel hearing a young MJ say that about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's getting creds, and it's important, you know, for guys, you know, who compete in sports at the highest level to get creds. You know, you can't please everybody. Mm-hmm. Everybody's not gonna like you. That's why, you know, some people like apples, some people like oranges, some people like grapes, and right. So on and so forth. You know, we're all fruit, and whether we represent the flavor or the taste of somebody, you know, who's a fan or a follower or even a hater. Mm-hmm. You know, they have their rights and they have their right of way. So when an individual blessed with great talent, you know, gives you recognition, you know, he's carrying on a torch, because I like to give the recognition to Bill Russell and Oscar Robertson, Elgin Baylor in particular, in a special way, Jerry West, and those guys for the things that they did, and Wilt Chamberlain. And, you know, when I picked my all-time team, you know, we got thousands of players, right?
Yeah.
But I made up my mind when I was like 15. So that was long. That was, you know, 55 years ago. Yeah. Or 56 years ago when I made my team, and it's still my team.
It's still your team to this day.
Still my team.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Oh, you don't know it, man? I thought it was common knowledge.
Let's hear it.
I say everybody's team should be this.
Hey, man, Wilton Russell.
Killers.
Jerry West, Oscar Robinson, Elgin Baylor. That's my team.
That's a 5 right there.
That's my team right there. They don't even need a coach.
Let me ask you this: with you speaking on the big Wilt, because I feel like you're somebody who played and you got to see what he did growing up when you were coming up. For those who don't know, like, can you describe his dominance and how dominant he really was in the league and the things that he was doing, even though he didn't win, you know, the championships and all of that, but like just describe how dominant he really was.
Yeah. You know, when you're Goliath, as he was, you got a big target on your back. Everybody's trying to figure out what they need to do to stop you. So day in and day out, you're faced with that. Mm-hmm. And I think it was reflected in his there's something called an enigma, right? And he was an enigmatic person because he would let the thoughts of others influence his behavior. So somebody said once, well, yeah, you score and you rebound, but you don't get no assists. So what did he do the next year? He led the league get assists.
Right.
You know? So somebody told what he not going to do or can't do. It's not that you can't do it. I mean, you just, in order to win a championship, you don't have, it's not about being the best player. It's about being the best team.
Right.
You know, so it's a communal effort. It's bringing everybody together, getting them all on the same page, and then utilizing their talents to be the best. So when he won the championship with LA, which was the second championship, they had that. They started out the season 33-0.
Right. Wow.
They had a 33-game winning streak. Whatever. So, and nobody liked to talk about that because it's like, oh man, that's fantasy. That's not fantasy. That was real. They went out there, won 33 games in a row. And so Wilt was pivotal in that. And he played a special role because he had, you know, not Jerry Lewis, he had Jerry West, and he had Pat Riley on that team, and they had a kid from Columbia. I can't remember his name, but anyway, you know, they had a mix. And Baylor retired. I think he retired that year before the season was over, mid-season, based on injuries. So Wilt had a lot of adjusting to do, and he was such a big target. And you know, his dominance. Okay, let me just talk about that a little bit. So I remember being in the playground and trying to come from the corner and go across the lane and then roll the ball back. And, you know, they always called him the dipper. Right? So it was like he just had, they didn't call it a finger roll.
Yeah.
They called it the dip shot. And he had his dip shot. And I mean, obviously when he got riled, you know, he would dunk it. But he was letting guys off easy when he was doing the dip, the dip shot. And, you know, so he played in Philly, the guy who announced his games, announced my games too. So, you know, we talked a lot about Wilt because he loved Wilt and he loved me. And he was a character, right? So Wilt, yeah, I think he loved basketball. I think he took a different route, you know, because you know, he went out to Kansas and played for a year, and then he ended up playing for the Globetrotters until his class graduated. So he had to wait until the class graduated before he could go into the NBA, because that was the rule at the time.
Right.
Or whatever. So he was already taking a whole different path to get to where he got to. And, you know, I mean, he went through, he had a phenomenal career. Obviously, he had a season where he averaged 50 points a game. Who does that? Whatever. He had a season where he averaged,
that's crazy.
He averaged 46.8 minutes a game. I think Sonny Hill was telling me about that. Or it might have been 48 minutes a game.
That's crazy.
Overtimes and stuff like that. You know, can you just imagine, guys?
That's crazy. You know,
that's crazy. Doing that work, and then he'd go in the bathroom and splash on the Brute, and then he was gone. And he liked the nightlife.
That's on the Brute.
And you know that, right?
That was his commercial. He said, splash on my Brute, and then I'm gone, man. You go ahead, Will.
Is this true? Did we almost see DR.J play with Oscar and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for the Bucks?
Yeah, well, it wasn't that close. But the Bucks drafted me. The Bucks drafted me, and I was already a pro when they drafted me.
Okay.
So as it turned out, Wayne Embry had watched me play since this camp that I went to when I was maybe about 16. And he had called me out of the crowd, and I had a big hand. He had a big hand. We did some hand stuff. We played a little bit. So he had watched me, and he was the general manager there when my class graduated. So I guess he had followed me, you know, my college years and going right to Virginia in the pros with the ABA. And he said, I'm gonna take a shot on this draft because they had 2 first-round picks. So they drafted with their early pick another player who was really good, and then with the 12th pick they picked me. And when they picked me, Atlanta jumped up and said, "No, you can't have him. We got a contract with him." I signed a contract with Atlanta, and then I also had a contract with Virginia. So when Milwaukee drafted me, I already had 2 contracts.
Right.
Oscar
and at the end of the day, I stayed in Virginia, and that's when they opened the door for me and Iceman to be teammates too. So it's like take your pick. Who would you rather be teammates with, Oscar and Kareem or Iceman, or it's your fate is your fate. So it was my fate to go the latter route.
This what I need to know. So you and Ice is the cool OGs, right? So yeah, when you first started getting the money where you felt comfortable, OG, what did you go buy? There was I didn't see pictures of fur coats, fur hats. What type of whip? What did you do when you first got some money where you felt like, all right, I got family good, I could do something nice for me? What did you do? Was it he told us he got the triple black El Dorado. He said like that. He said, young fella, I got the triple black, young fella.
Yeah. I mean, I got the nice car. I got a blue on blue in blue Continental Mark III. This was Mark III was out then. And I didn't go to get it. See, I took 2 friends with me from college. I took Alonzo Somerville and Herman Curtis. And so we rode down there in my 1961 Chevy Impala. We rode down there and talked about trading it in for really like a little coupe or something, something new. And every car that we test drove, all I heard was complaints. Man, it's too tight back here in the back seat. Man, the ceiling is too low, or whatever. So we come back, we get another car, a little bigger. So they were all 4 doors, but next thing I know, after like 3 road trips with my boys, and we got in that Continental, I heard no complaining. Everybody was laid back.
So much
it was
room.
on soft. It was on soft seats, plenty of headroom, and all kinds of gadgets up there.
Come on, get the spaceship.
So I ended up trading my car for that one. And it cost, the down payment was maybe about $1,000, $2,000, because, I didn't really have no big bonus money or whatever. But that was enough. That was enough to change the game. Yeah. It was a game changer. Yeah.
I seen in an interview that you said that you try to dunk the ball at least once every year just to see if you still can dunk that. Is that still going on to this day?
It actually is not going on anymore.
Okay. So what was the age and how long did it go?
I was dunking up to age 63.
Man.
63.
Just for that, I make sure I do it. Like I make sure I give you a couple of dunks a year. Ooh, I don't do nothing fancy. These knees ain't gonna take a lot, but I give them a couple of dunks a year, and I just want to see where I need to get to. I need to get to 63. Okay.
Yeah, you got to get to 63. I think Nick's gonna pass me because he's just a human highlight film. So I know he's dunking every year, and the bar's already set. Because I didn't dunk at 64. I stopped. I didn't even try.
Oh, you didn't try.
And then I had a shoulder problem, a couple of years ago. So I said, I'm just gonna let it go. I ain't got no incentive. Now there's some incentive out there.
Straight up.
we might want to resurrect something.
All right, man, that's a wrap, man. This has been amazing, man. OG, we appreciate you coming through, pulling up on us, spending some time. This has been huge, man. Everybody check it out. This is Julius, the Dr. Erving, man. Appreciate you, OG.
Thank you, guys.